You're too close to the chairs, I don't think.
Yeah, you can come front. You guys can come front. Okay, hi everyone. One second, please. Very good evening to everyone who's joined in. We're going to start in over the next 2 minutes. I'm just waiting for people to arrive in the Zoom meeting as well. We have a few in-person attendees right now. Good evening. Namaste, Kumarji. Namaste. Okay. I see a few new people joining today. Hi, everyone. I see Hamsa. Okay. If you can all rename with your original names. I see someone as iPhone and I see someone as okay. Oh, okay. I see someone as A to Z. If you can rename yourselves, it will be amazing. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Hi, Rahul. All right. Okay. It's 5 and we'll start right off. because the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita has 72 verses or shlokas, and 1 hour span is quite a tight time, duration to explain the whole thing, but I will try to keep it as concise and cover it for you all. Okay, right. So before starting off, I just want to ask for your blessings and prayers, because what I am going to speak today is not what I am telling you. This was spoken 5,000 years ago by Lord Sri Krishna to his friend and disciple Arjuna, right? So what I am trying to convey, I wish and pray that it is in accordance with what Lord Krishna has given the message to Arjuna, right? And I request for your prayers and blessings so that I may be able to do that properly, right? Thank you. And before starting, I have a few verses that I like to recite, okay, to invoke the blessings of all the deities. And in the Indian tradition, we have something called the Guru Parampara. So all the knowledge that we receive is transferred down lineages of people who serve as teachers or gurus for the rest of the generation. So it's called as the Guru tradition or the Guru Parampara, right? So I'll offer my prayers to the Guru Parampara before I can begin the presentation, right? So you can all pray with me. If you do not know the shlokas, it's not a problem. Just listen to it and pray with. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha namo om vishnupadaya krishna preshtaya bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining me in the prayer. All right. So we have a lot of joinees right now online. Okay, so now I want responses from you all. We have a lot of new participants today. And we're going to do a little recap of what we had discussed yesterday about the first chapter, right? So I'm going to take the next 10 minutes in recapping stuff and again, giving you an introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, right? So can I get quick responses of how many chapters does the Bhagavad Gita have on the chat box, please? What do you think? And in-person attendees, you're welcome to answer just like that. So the Bhagavad Gita is basically, a discussion that happened between Lord Sri Krishna and Arjuna, all right? And it was on a huge battlefield of Kurukshetra, where Arjuna was going to give it's like the exam of his life. He was preparing for it from the past 50 years. Okay, there were battalions of armies. It's believed that there were 21,870 chariots all over the Kurukshetra battlefield. It was huge, 21,870 elephants, 192,000 soldiers along with their horses. So it was beautifully arranged army battalions on both sides of the battlefield, and Arjuna was guided by and, taken on his chariot by Lord Sri Krishna. And Lord Sri Krishna in Hinduism, who do not know, is believed to be the supreme personality of Godhead. So he's believed to be the creator of the creator. and all the universes have manifested through his energy and power, is what we believe, and we give him a lot of respect. And he had that same stature while this battle happened 5,000 years ago as well. But he chose to be the charioteer of Arjuna, despite having such high stature and qualifications, right? So that in Hinduism, we have things, wherein the people of prominence lead by example. So if they want to preach humility, if they want to teach humility to someone, they exhibit the quality of humility. So Krishna, despite being the supreme lord and controller, decided to be a mere charioteer for his friend Arjuna, out of love and compassion and humility towards his own friend, out of genuine interest to help the friend and guide him, right? Okay. So yes, I have a few responses in the chat box. The whole Kurukshetra battle spanned a period of 18 days. And every single day, Lord Krishna taught something new to Arjuna and clarified all the doubts that he had. And that conversation between Krishna and Arjuna is termed as the Bhagavad Gita, which literally translates to Song of the God, right? So yes, so in the Bhagavad Gita, there are 18 chapters, marking the 18 days of the war, right? And how many verses or shlokas are there in the Bhagavad Gita? Can anyone make a guess? I'm sure some of you might have read about it somewhere or heard about it. Okay, amazing. I have some correct answers in the chat box. Okay, Nishant, are you saying there are 46 shlokas? No, 46 shlokas are just in the first chapter. The first chapter itself has 46 verses, right? And Prashant Kumar Singh, congratulations, you've given the right answer over the chat box. He says it's 700. So the whole Bhagavad Gita, in its entirety has 700 shlokas spread over 18 chapters. And the chapter that we are about to discuss today is one of the most important chapters, having some of the most, concepts that lay the foundation for a lot of beliefs in Hinduism, right? So it's a very, very essential, important chapter in the whole of the Bhagavad Gita. And as a result of that, it's one of the biggest chapters with 72 shlokas, right? Okay. And in the chapter that we discussed yesterday, the first chapter, what exactly did we see? Can somebody if anyone wants to unmute and tell me, you can raise your hands up. If anyone in the audience wants to give an overview, you can do that too.
So the Arjun was in the dilemma whether to fight or not.
Yes.
Against his family, and now he decided not to go for the war.
Right. So Priya has given a very nice and short overview of what happened. So let me elaborate a little bit again. So Arjuna was on the battlefield, and like I said, he was preparing for this battle from the past 50 years, right? Basically, there were two sets of cousins, the Pandavas and Kauravas, all right? And the Kauravas were 100 children, the Pandavas were just 5. But they were extremely powerful despite being just 5 of them, right? It so happened that the fathers of the Pandavas and Kauravas were brothers. And the Pandavas' father unfortunately met with his death while they were very young children, all right? And now the responsibility of the Pandavas' mother, whose name was Kunti, and the Pandava children was to be taken by Dhritarashtra, who was their father's elder brother. Pandu was Pandavas' father, all right? So Dhritarashtra had to take the responsibility of Kunti and her 5 children, but he did not take the due responsibility that he was meant to take. And the children ended up being orphaned, and Kunti was widowed, and they were struggling for their existence. Despite all of this, they did not receive the right support. And there was always a sibling rivalry between the Kaurava children and the Pandavas, right from childhood. So they had to undergo a lot of ordeals and struggles right through childhood. So Kunti decided to take them away from the Kauravas and go and live in a secluded forest for several years. Okay. Once they were grown up enough, she decided to come back to Hastinapura, the kingdom where Dhritarashtra was now ruling. And Dhritarashtra was a blind king. All right. And he had a secretary called Sanjaya with, telescopic powers to be able to see things sitting at a place, but be able to see things live, what's happening elsewhere. It's something like a cricket match that you're watching on TV. You're sitting in Dundee, but you're able to see a match that's happening in Australia. So that's how it is. He had those powers without any other technology to be able to see things. So we saw in the first chapter that, Dhritarashtra sitting in his kingdom, he was blind. And he was now inquiring from his secretary Sanjaya that, please tell me what's happening between my children, the 100 kids that he had, and the Pandavas in the battlefield. And Sanjaya gives him a live commentary. So Arjuna was on the battlefield, all ready and prepared to fight the battle of Mahabharata, it's called. And then he requests Lord Krishna to take the chariot to the middle of the battlefield so that he can have a look at how the enemy battalion is arranged and who is who and where have they, positioned themselves. And Lord Krishna obliges, and his chariot is now at the center of the battlefield, 192,000 soldiers, innumerable elephants, innumerable horses, But what he ends up seeing on the enemy battalion is his childhood friends, his family members, his mentor, the person who had educated him in the art of archery, the person who had taught him, how to lead life, his own very dear teacher called Dronacharya, who's leading the army on the other side. And he saw a person who is similar to his grandfather figure, a person who was like a grandfather to him, called Bhishma Pitamaha. All of them are standing in the enemy battalion. And suddenly he realized that the war for which he was preparing from so long is going to be against his own family and his own friends and his childhood friends whom he had made memories with. Suddenly he's now realizing that, is this worth it? Do I even have to do this battle? And he's overcome by compassion. He's not fearful because he's a warrior and he's very well qualified to, fight this war. He's well prepared. He's not scared, but he is overcome by compassion and humanity that, I'm going to be fighting against my own people. What's going to be the result of this? There's going to be bloodshed. He's fighting this battle for a land that he was supposed to get. The Pandavas were supposed to get a piece of land because they were also belonging to the same dynasty, although their father has passed away, but they deserved to rightfully get that land, and that was being refused to them, right? So because it was not given to them, they decided to go ahead with this fight. And people do ask questions like, weren't there communication and peace talk before the Mahabharata war? What do you think? Can somebody tell me on the chat box? Was there any peace talk? Do you know about this? I'd like it if you all can get to the chat box and put it in there, right? In-person attendees, anyone has any idea? Was there a peace talk between the Kauravas and Pandavas before the Mahabharata war?
I don't know, but
Okay.
according to the general rules
Mhm.
of the fight, there is always first preferences given to the Christians.
Yes.
And also,
Yes.
I think the fight is because of what happened to their wife.
Yeah.
Yes. That was also a thing, and that is why they were preparing from 50 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so I cannot get into the complete details right now, but I can tell you in the future, sessions that we have, right? Okay, I have some correct answers in the chat box. So like the protocol Priya mentioned, there's always a protocol that's followed in wars, right? And battles. So as per the protocol, there's always a peace talk that has to happen before you proceed with a battle, before you decide to fight. So this had happened, and Lord Krishna was the mediator there, right? Perfect. I see Divya saying that, yes, there was a peace talk and Krishna was the mediator. Yes, that's right. Lord Krishna tried to intervene and convince Dhritarashtra that the war should be averted. Yes. Okay. We'll get to the Vishwarup in chapter 11, Anish. You're going way ahead. All right. So this is what happened in the first chapter. This is the short recap. And I'm sure you all would have received the summary slide for the first chapter, right? What was the acronym for the first chapter, please? Can someone tell me in the chat box? Acronym for the first chapter. We want to make things easy for you to remember each chapter. So we've designed a few acronyms for you to remember it, what really happens in that chapter. Yes, it's a very simple one. It's not something that you have to
It was doubt.
It was doubt. Perfect. And what does that indicate? Whose doubt was it? Arjuna's doubt. And what was Arjuna's doubt about?
Whether to go forward with the war or not.
Whether to go with the war or not. But he ends up with a conclusion. It's not just a doubt. At the end of the first chapter, he makes a decision. Not to
go forward with it.
Not to fight the war. Imagine a person who has been studying for an exam from the past 50 years. Okay. On the battlefield, the conch shells have been blown. The alarm bell to begin the exam the next 5 minutes has already rung. Okay. And then suddenly he decides to walk out of the exam hall. And Arjuna was not just an ordinary person. He was the greatest archer of that time. And he was among the greatest warriors that were existing. So imagine a person of that stature deciding to move out of the battlefield after so much preparation. So this was the scenario in the first chapter, right? Now let's see what's going to happen in the second chapter. I hope everyone is clear with this recap, right? So let's proceed. Give me a second and I will share the screen with today's PowerPoint presentation, right? And I would also like you all to confirm to me in the chat box. Okay, Kumar sir says recap is very helpful. Thank you. All right. Because we had quite a few new attendees today, so I had to give a little bit of an elaborate recap. I see that you all are able to see my screen just now, isn't it? Okay, right. So we're in session 2 today. Looking at the overview for today's session, we're going to have this acronym for today, which is the Gita itself. Like I mentioned, Gita in Sanskrit means song, and Bhagavad Gita means song of the god. The acronym for today's chapter is Gita, indicating that this is one of the most important chapters, and it's going to summarize some of the important concepts in the whole of the Gita, right? The first acronym here says Guru. What do you understand by Guru? I'd like to know from you all. What do you think Guru means to you? Who takes us to enlightenment? Okay, right. In the chat box as well, I have a few responses. Yes. Divya and Kumar say that it means teacher. Shivani says it means mentor. We have Nikki with us today, so I'd like to know if she knows anything about it. Okay, right. Guru means someone knowledgeable. That's perfectly right. Someone who can guide a person who is new to something and who himself is qualified and knowledgeable to teach someone else who is called as Guru, right? So yes, so first concept that we are going to see today is something related to Guru. And you would have all seen in the poster that we circulated for today's session, we'd mentioned that the learning outcome is you knowing your true identity, knowing yourself, right? So we'll see what identity that we really belong to. What's our actual identity? We'll see what's that, okay? So dharma has several meanings. T stands for two dharmas. So dharma has several meanings and I will discuss it as we go higher. And ananda means happiness or bliss, right? And how we attain that happiness also, we will discuss very lightly in today's session. Okay. Let me go ahead, right? So now, the first thing that Arjuna says, at last, what happened with Arjuna in the first chapter, he says that, look, I cannot do this. I want to, my legs are trembling. He had so many symptoms of feeling anxious and stressed. He says, my whole skin is burning. I feel like my whole skin is burning. I'm unable to stand on my feet. My mouth is turning dry. Hair are standing on end. And he was the greatest archer, and he had an extraordinary bow called the Gandiva, with which, if he would aim, it would definitely hit the bullseye. So that was his capacity in archery. And that kind of an archer says that I am not able to pick up the Gandiva bow, slipping off my hand. So this was a situation, and he said, Krishna, I am not able to stand in the battlefield. I want to leave right now. He looks at Krishna and says, you can see the slide, now I'm confused about my duty, and I have lost all composure because of weakness, miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me, right? Now I am your disciple, meaning that I am going to listen to your guidance. I am under your shelter, right? And a soul that's surrendered unto you. Please instruct me, right? Now, to understand the Bhagavad Gita, it's not like reading a story or reading a book. It's important that you put yourself in the position of Arjuna and see what you would do, what you would react, right? In the first session, we had this, imagination where we were putting ourselves in that battlefield and trying to imagine, having to see our own childhood friends, our mentors, somebody who's like a father figure, a grandfather figure, in the enemy battalions. And we have to fight a war against them for something that is right, for land that we had to rightfully get. How would we react? How would we feel? So I had got some really practical and amazing responses. We would be confused. We would have thousands of doubts in our mind. We would feel guilty of having to do the battle. We would feel like giving up. We would feel like quitting. So this was exactly what was happening with Arjuna. But now you see what he is doing. So just tell me, what are the things what would you do? You have Krishna by your side. You have decided to, not fight the war. So what can you do? There are two situations that are possible here. You decided not to fight, right? Lord Krishna is with you and he can guide you, but you have two choices here. Either you take that guidance, or you simply decided to ignore Krishna and you say that, no, I've made my decision. I'm going to get off the chariot and run away from the battlefield, right? But what choice does Arjuna make here? Arjuna decides to seek Krishna's guidance, right? So he approaches Krishna, and knowing that he is a person of great stature. He is somebody who is way more experienced and qualified than himself, right? He did not know that Krishna is the Lord of, the whole creation and the universes, but he knew him as a friend, a mentor, somebody senior to him. So he decides to take his instruction and look at how he approaches Krishna. Despite thinking of him as a friend at this point in time, he still says, I'm confused. I have lost all my composure because of my weakness, right? I'm overcome by my emotions and compassion. But in this condition, I'm asking you to tell me for certain, what do you think is best for me? I am your disciple. So disciple means somebody who is taking complete shelter of a person who is qualified, who knows that the person who is going to guide him further is somebody who wishes the best for him and will tell him what he has to do. And this person will consider the situation as an instruction and follow it, because that is in his best interest, right? So he says, I'm your disciple and I'm a soul that is surrendered unto you. Okay. See, Arjuna is saying he's a soul. Now we'll discover what a soul is in the next few slides, right? He says, please instruct me. What should I do? So what does surrender actually mean? What does surrender actually mean? We're able to see on this slide, right? Surrender means somebody with an attitude which, shows that he's eager to learn. Okay. He is humble, right? You can see that on the slide. He's humble and identifies his own weaknesses. Right? He's not running away. He did not shy away from revealing that he's undergoing these emotions at that point in time. Did not shy away. He did not try to hide behind his position as the greatest warrior of that time. He told Krishna that, look, this is what is happening with me and I need help, right? He's humble and he acknowledges the fact that Krishna can guide him. See, he's eager to learn. He acknowledges the fact that he does not know what to do in this situation. He does not know. He's not running away from that fact. And then he says that I need a teacher, somebody like you, to guide me to do how I can handle the challenges in life, right? So this is the definition of surrender. So what are the prerequisites for you to surrender? It's not easy, all right. When you don't know something, it's and everybody believes that you're the greatest warrior. You know everything and you're somebody of great you're a very respectful person and you're in a battlefield. Like there are so many people there who look up to you. There, if you have to go and surrender in front of someone, you really need to have the courage to do that, right? Everyone thinks that you know everything and you're a very great warrior and you can win the battle and everything of that sort. There you are undergoing such emotions of feeling stressed and anxious and not wanting to fight, right? The first thing Arjuna did was acknowledge his own emotions, accept that he's undergoing it, and accept that he does not know what to do next and he needs guidance and seek that guidance. So these are things that we can follow when we are personally undergoing challenges in life. We saw a slide last session, which was very useful, which was very informative, right? If you have a problem in life, the next thing that you can think about is, do you have a solution for that problem, right? So we all have so many problems in life, isn't it? Do you think we can find a solution for it? I need some responses from in-house people here because I've done this with the online attendees before. And people who are new online, you're all welcome to answer this. Others know about it. So yeah. What do you think, Priyanka, Priya, Nikki? What do you all think? So you have a problem, all right? And you have a solution for it. Do you have to worry about it?
No.
You don't have to
You
worry.
just work about it, not worry about it, rather than on the solution. You need to work about it rather than worrying.
You need to work on the solution rather than worry, right? You have a problem, okay? And you don't have a solution. So do you have to worry about it? She says, okay, Nikki says, yeah. Okay, so if you have a problem and you don't have a solution for that problem, you need to worry about it. So that phase where you try to find a solution is actually not worry. It's a process of researching the solutions available, which has to be done with a very calm mind. So that's not worry, right? So worry is something where you are panicking and you can't find, there are solutions in front of you, but you still can't see them. That is worry. And we have to avoid that, right? So whether you have a problem in life is not the question. Everybody is definitely going to have a problem, right? It's like you're on a cricket field and you're expecting that no ball is thrown at you. You're the batsman. And you're expecting that it should be entirely empty and everybody should be calm and quiet and everything should go as per your wish. And that's not life. You are going to have people throwing things at you, balls at you from all sides. And what you really need to do is take it one by one and handle it. And if you stand there worrying, you are definitely going to be crashed. So that's the thing. So there is no reason to worry. If you have a problem, you can find the solution. If you can't find the solution, don't worry. Just the end result. So what should you do? We're all so used to worrying. We're also used, oh my God, I have an exam tomorrow. Oh my God, I have to do this. Oh my God, I have to do that. We end up worrying rather than working, right? We procrastinate as a result. But ideally, what should we do? all that is required from us is patience and calmness, so that we can handle everything one by one, and we need to just go with the flow. Things are going to come at us, so we need to be patient and go with the flow. That's the end of it, right? So in this situation, what's the precondition for surrender? We need a lot of courage and humility to accept failure, right? This would be a huge failure. It would be, imagine a warrior like Arjuna walking out of the battlefield. What kind of humiliation he would have to experience after quitting. Everybody there would tell him that nobody would have expected that such a person would walk out of the battlefield. If he did walk out, the kind of humiliation that he has to undergo is huge, right? So it takes a lot of courage for this, to surrender and say that I'm not able to do this, I need guidance, right? And unless we accept our own weaknesses, it's very difficult to succeed in life, because life is about working on our weaknesses, right? We have challenges coming at us. Why do you think these challenges are coming at us? Why do you think it's necessary? If somebody has to, there is a player, I don't know why I'm getting only the example of cricket. I'm sorry. India is obsessed with cricket. So I'm not saying that I'm not a great cricket fan, but I don't know. I'm getting just the example of cricket. So there's a player who has to do a World Cup, right? So what does he have to do before the World Cup? He has to practice, right? Why should he practice? What's the need for practice?
To work on his weakness.
Yeah. Because in the beginning, nobody is perfect anyway. So we have to work on our weaknesses, and that process of working on our weaknesses is called practice. And it is a huge part of our life, right? So success only comes to those who practice, right? So, and to practice, first of all, we have to accept our weaknesses, know that we have to identify our weaknesses and work on those, isn't it? So this is a precondition for surrender. Surrender. And do you think a player who has to go for a World Cup match can sort out things and, find out, do his research, Google it, and, get 2-3 friends and figure out how he can become the perfect player without a coach? Is this a possibility? Has there been any player in history who has directly gone for a World Cup match without being coached before that? It's a question to everyone. Right. Huh?
Government always hire coach. They can't let anybody go.
The government never leaves a sports person to go to a World Cup match without having a coach. And there should be a reason for it, right? Government is not, taking decisions just like that. So when you want to do something really important, it's important that you identify your weakness, and, we identify our weaknesses, and we get a person who can guide us to work on our weaknesses, isn't it? So a coach or a guru is very important. Yes. Okay. Kartikeya says you won't even know how to hold a bat without a coach. Yeah. So yes, that's how it goes. So that was the first thing that Arjuna did. What was that? And it's on your slide. Yes, I need your responses, please, in the chat box. Arjuna surrendered to Krishna, who was a person of authority. Yeah. Okay, so the next question on this slide is this huge dilemma of who are you, right? The question that you need to ask yourself is, who am I? Okay. The meeting, since we are already past 40 minutes, the meeting is now going to end, right? In less than a minute. So I want you to ponder over this question in that meanwhile and join back. And we're going to have a very interesting discussion thereafter, because there are some important concepts coming up, and we have a small live quiz that happens. So we're going to stop the meeting here, right? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I want you to ponder over this question. Who am I, or who are you, right? I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and I'm going to end the meeting just now. And all of you, please do join back. We're continuing the discussion thereafter. Right. Thank you.